the governor's race there as well, too, between Democrat Brandon Presley and the incumbent Republican governor there, you see, Tate Reeves. Reeves did survive, though. That's the one downside, at least if you're rooting for many Democrats to change the way things are going. But it was a little closer than we could have imagined, though. Let's check out those results there, too, in that graphic, where Tate Reeves won with 51.8%. Compared to the 47, just about 47 from Brandon Presley there. So he eked that one out, which again says a lot more because, this is Mississippi, right? Brandon Presley had a particular strategy. He couldn't tout any successes because obviously he wasn't in office, but he could say things that people have been saying that many Republicans just reject as wild, radical people. Mr. President traveled the state arguing for expanding Medicaid. Wow. And slashing the state's high grocery tax, which is one of the highest in the nation, saying he would bring relief to working class families. He focused heavily on mobilizing black voters as well. But he also believed that he could peel away white centrists and Republicans who were drawn to his message of doing something for them because they pay taxes. They vote for people who will represent them. It's so weird how we've gotten away from that concept. But if you go and tell people, there's one part of this tells you it represents families and struggling families and helping middle class folks get on their feet or even maybe not be worrying about that next paycheck or maybe even that next medical bill. If you actually say you'll do something about it rather than just saying you represent them and I'm all for you, maybe they'll start to see that they're looking for results rather than just promises. He got close, a little bit more. He also relentlessly needled Mr. Reeves for a sprawling scandal in which millions of dollars in federal welfare funds had been siphoned away from supporting the state's poorest residents. You guys remember this down in Mississippi. The money was instead used for the pet projects of the wealthy and connected individuals, including a volleyball stadium at the University of Southern Mississippi, championed by one Brett Favre, a former professional football player. He played for the Packers forever before he went on to the Vikings, but he's from Mississippi. So at the back end of that, this is what Presley said. We left no stone unturned, is what he told supporters on Tuesday and described the aggressive efforts in his campaign to crisscross the state. And he made stops in all 82 counties. He argued that the race had succeeded in bringing attention to urgent issues like Medicaid expansion. And he said, this is bigger than one man. We can lose this race tonight, recognizing good on the other side, which was the last little bit of my hopefulness on this. Even in that loss, look how close it was and look at the reasons why. So people may not want to come forward as far as conservatives and say, we're looking to shut down Medicaid, we're looking to shut down your Social Security, and we're looking to make sure you have no access to many things that would be normally accessible to you because we brag about how we're these great Americans, greatest nation on the face of the earth, but our citizens are struggling with very simple, normal things. What's the benefit of being American again? Your last thoughts?
Yeah, to keep with the sports analogies, it's like, they say a moral victory, like when a team is, generally a big underdog or whatever, but ends up giving them everything they can handle, but still loses in the end. They call it a moral victory. Mississippi, even coming this close, I feel like counts as such for me. And you're right. People have said all the time, what can Democrats do in these states, in these areas like this? And, I've always thought and said, well, stay away from the culture war stuff. You don't have to come in screaming about guns and all this type of thing, but it just, focus on Democratic policies that would help these people or matter to these people directly, like stress that you want to do things for them. And, I feel like with Kentucky and now Presley's campaign in Mississippi, there's some evidence to support that could work or that people are open to that. And also we should say it's not without at least a little bit of funny business in Mississippi. There was a lot of weird voting things happening, but then Jackson, the 83% black capital of Mississippi, they ran out of ballots like 9 or 10 different times and couldn't get a response to that. And people were in line for hours and hours. And it's always in the same places and same types of communities that experience those problems. And I don't think it's accidental. And then they'll keep, crying about voter fraud on the left and elections being stolen or whatnot, while still, suppressing votes wherever they can. So, but
the basic strategy. I don't know how we keep falling for it to do the thing that you're claiming that your opponents are doing, so that anyone brings up the things that you're doing, that they'll then just say, "Oh, well, you guys are bringing it up just like we did." So it means our we know this. We know the circular argument that they have going there. But again, hopefully, people are seeing through it.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.